Ajajari today, Lekki today, and Ilupeju today. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Lola. Good morning to all our viewers.
It's a pleasure having you in our studios.
Always a pleasure to be here.
I look into a major story for today. The conflict in the Middle East has widened dramatically as the United States and Israel continue military strikes on Iran, leading to chaos spreading across the region. The campaign has included air and missiles, attack on Iranian targets, and Tehran has responded by launching missiles and drones at Israel and other countries, including the Gulf Arab states. The violence has spread beyond Iran now, and Israel's border, involving groups such as, Hezbollah in Lebanon, and prompting strikes in neighboring nations. On the one hand, the federal government of Nigeria has confirmed that no distress calls have yet been received from Nigerians living in Iran amid the ongoing crisis. The director of media at the Nigerians in Diaspora Commission, NIDCOM, said that while there might be Nigerians in Iran, none has officially reached out for assistance. So let's start with the first topic, or the question on everybody's mind right now. How has this Middle East conflict escalated, especially beyond strikes on Iran, to even now involve multiple states and regions? How did we get here?
Yeah, well, this whole thing revolves around Israel, really. And the problem Israel has is that most of its neighbors are hostile to Israel because they see it as an illegitimate state. I don't know how, you're relatively young, so I don't know how much history you know, but back in 1948, Israel, the state of Israel as we know it today, was created artificially by virtue of colonizing an existing region, which is what Palestine is claiming today. Now, when this happened in 1948, there are people who are using historical biblical references that the Jews from biblical time were God's chosen people, and they were in the wilderness for so many years, and God had earmarked a certain land for them. So what happened in 1948 was they transliterated Bible mythology or Bible tenets into our everyday today life and used that to codify the existence of the state of Israel as we know it today. Its neighbors, right from back then, have been protesting this dislocation of those people who were originally on that land, that were displaced when the modern state of Israel was created. So they've been antagonistic and hostile to Israel since back then, saying that we don't recognize you because some literature book somewhere says you are God's own chosen people and God has marked out a territory for you, and you have now come and claimed that territory. We don't accept that mythology. And as far as we are concerned, you've dislocated a legitimate set of people. And if you think about historically, that's the way man has always done to man. Look at the modern day America. Who was there first? Was it those we know as Americans today who were there? People have always come from somewhere. Even the UK as we know it today, there were Vikings and there were all kinds of Anglo-Saxon people from marauding warriors who just used to go and conquer places and colonize those places and make them. That's the history of humankind. Do you understand? So, from its very existence, from its first day, Israel has been surrounded by hostile neighbors who have always said that the elimination of the state of Israel is their primary goal. Not even compromise of how can we live together as harmonious next door neighbors, brother and sister. No. The end goal has always been elimination. You have no right to exist here. Yeah. We will not agree. So that is the root cause of what we are seeing today. And it has expressed itself numerously over the years in many different wars. There was the 6-day war, Israel versus, I think it was Jordan. There's been the 12-day war. Israel is always trying to fend off external aggression. And what that has done to Israel over the years, because everyone surrounding it is so aggressive, Israel has had to learn how to defend itself. So over the years, it has developed a very strong military capability, very strong, because if everybody around you is trying to eliminate you, you learn how to defend yourself. Israeli Mossad, their secret service, is one of the most formidable espionage agencies in the entire world. In fact, rumor has it that part of the reason why the Ayatollah was eliminated so easily is because Mossad had penetrated deep into the Iranian defense forces, even down to the people guarding that Ayatollah himself. There were Israeli Mossad embedded deeply inside the Revolutionary Guard that guard even the supreme leader. So that when the moment came, they just activated them. They are right next to the man. Easy to eliminate. So Israel has become very formidable and has never been bashful about defending itself. It claims that it's never the aggressor. That is always when they come after it that it unleashes its military might. And you can remember October 7 of 2 years ago when Hamas and Palestine invaded. In fact, I think it was a rock concert or something that they were having somewhere in Israel that Hamas just invaded and kidnapped a lot of Israelis, killed innocent women and children. That was what started the current aggression between Israel and Hamas in Palestine, which I think it's an offshoot of that has led to this Iran issue. Now, what has basically happened is, even though Iran, I don't think she has a direct border with Israel per se like that, but it's also one of those. In fact, Iran is known to be one of the key sponsors of all of the Muslim aggression in that region. Almost all the countries in that region are Muslim, and Israel is sitting right in the middle of them as a Jew. So Iran being an economic powerhouse, they have oil. Iran being a military powerhouse, they have nuclear capability. And Iran having been run by extremists, this whole Ayatollah, this supreme leader, they've all been Muslim extremists who have believed in not compromise, not conciliation, not is kill or be killed kind of an ideology. So Iran has always been the one backing Hezbollah in Lebanon, backing Hamas in Palestine. To some extent, they even say Boko Haram in Nigeria is funded by Iran. So Iran is seen as the rogue nation that is economically capable and militarily empowered to back all of those terrorist organizations in the world who, of course, want to Islamize everywhere, want to eliminate Judaism, Jews, Christians, whatever the case may be. So the West has always viewed Iran with suspicion. And because Iran has always been belligerent, like you West, you are the bully, and you can bully everybody else, you won't bully us. So Iran has continued to develop its nuclear program. They have enriched uranium, which is the base component for developing nuclear weapons. So the West has always tried to inhibit them from, because once you have nuclear capability, if you have a nuclear bomb and I have a nuclear bomb, that makes us respect each other, because if you detonate yours first, I have to detonate mine back, and that's the beginning of the end of humankind. So they've always felt like a rogue nation like Iran. If they have nuclear weapons, the rest of the world is not safe. So they've always tried to peg Iran, and Iran has refused to be pegged. So Donald Trump coming in as a take no prisoners kind of president. Although when he was campaigning, he was always, that's why this is happening, is strange. He was always viewed as the president who is peace-loving and not a warmonger. But his idea of America first, let's make America great again. Everybody else, get out of the way. He has tried to play a chess game with Russia, a chess game with China. He's looking at, America has always been a defender of Israel. Any American president, whether Republican, Democrat, doesn't matter. Primarily because the Jews hold the economy of America by the jugular. All the banks are owned by the Jews, all the Fortune 500 companies. America, the Jewish nation has a major economic stronghold on not just the US, but most of the West. So you can't ignore their interests. And that's what Donald Trump is pursuing, is how to protect the interests of the state of Israel. Now, coming back here to Nigeria, because, you mentioned the issue of the impact on us as a people. Is it something that should concern us? Well, we live in a global world now. And when something happens, you know, a butterfly flaps its wings in the Amazon, it rains in Ghana. And you would think they're not interrelated, but they are. Because we are all in a global village, we are all interconnected. So we can already begin to see the effect of that war. Petrol is going up by 101 naira as of today at the pump. Oh, you are coming to that. Okay, let me allow you.
So let's look at it. If we look at it based on, the international law perspective, how legitimate are the actions, from both sides?
Well, there's a sovereignty issue. What gives another country the right to march into a sovereign nation and assassinate their leader, take over the country, close their airspace? Well, remember, America just did it in Venezuela recently and got away with it. Let me tell you one truth that you and all our viewers should accept today. Might is right. Might. Whoever has military might, whatever you do irrespective of international law, nobody can take you to task. They did Venezuela and they got away with it. Was it legitimate? Was it according to UN convention? The UN Secretary General is there complaining, you can't do this, you can't. They did it and they got away with it. And they didn't just start doing it. In the 80s, they went into Panama and took Panama's head of state. They went and they carried him just like they carried Maduro and took him and locked him up in a prison. And what did they say he did? They said he was facilitating the movement of drugs to America. So might is always right. If you have the military might, forget convention, forget international law. You're talking about legality. Where does legality stand against F-2 bomber? Where does legality stand against drones that you will fire from 300 miles away that will pinpoint accuracy, that will come and eliminate, the whole military leadership of Iran? Not one American boot was on the ground when they eliminated all the entire hierarchy of the Iranian military. Who's going to stand up to them? So might is right. And when you have might, you don't hesitate to deploy it. Even all those laws you are talking about. America has the largest vote in the United Nations. It can change that law. If all of a sudden it decides morality, we should respect law, it will get the law changed to allow it to do what it wants to do. America pays the largest dues to United Nations. So it has veto power over anything they want to pass. So forget about legality. In this point, if your interest is threatened and you have the capability, you will defend yourself. And that's what America has done. So who can dare to say, what you're doing is illegal, or you must stop? They will laugh at you and they'll carry on the bombing. So might is right. Never forget that.
Okay, so let's localize it right now. How do you think Nigeria should actually position itself, especially diplomatically, in between, US, Israel, and Iran?
The first thing I'm not happy about, I don't like that statement from the government, from that diaspora commission, that no Nigerian has asked for assistance. Do you need to wait for Nigerians to give a distress call before you put out an advisory? You see it every time. Even here in Nigeria, you see it where US will say, according to intelligence, there might be some disturbances, so please shelter in place, do not go out, do not this. They don't wait for complaint. By the time somebody is making a distress call, it's too late already. They're in trouble. They're in trouble. So what is responsible for our government to do is to send a message out, an advisory, and say, these are the steps you should take. We are cognizant of the current situation in Iran. We know our citizens are located there. Those going to school, those working, those doing business. So this is our own advisory to you. Take cover, take shelter. If you need protection, Nigerian embassy is here. These are the phone numbers. These are this. You give an advisory. That's what makes people patriotic to their country, because your country shows it cares about you. Your country won't just leave you and wait until you're in trouble and you're screaming for help. They are proactive. They take the step before the problem comes in. But now, let's talk about the bigger issue, which you mentioned, is that where does Nigeria stand between this issue between US, Israel and Iran? The federal government's official position was, please exercise restraint. They issued a statement, I think, yesterday or the day before.
Yes.
Please exercise restraint. Let's calling for peace and calm, and please, innocent lives let's mediate this. Well, diplomatically, that's the correct thing to say. And I also like the fact that Nigeria is not taking sides. I think we should be non-aligned, because if you take one side now, you support Iran and America wins, you become the bogeyman for America. If you support America and Iran prevails, you become the whipping boy for Iran. So it's good in this case to be non-aligned. Why? Because we're not involved one way or another. We're not directly involved. We're not directly involved. So as a member of the Committee of Nations, the best thing to do is to be non-aligned, just take a neutral position, encourage both of them to calm themselves and take it easy, and let's find because there are innocent people being killed. There are women, there are children, there are the elderly, all kinds. So this is carnage. Any which way you look at it is that it's regression for the human race. I mean, we all derive from the same ancestor. Why should we be killing each other? We should be living together in love, peace, and harmony. You know, I don't care what the color of your skin may be. I don't care what your religion may be. And at the end of the day, when you look at it, we're all aspiring to the same things, irrespective of where we live in the world or what God we worship or what the color of our skin. We all just want peace, happiness, and the peace, freedom, pursuit of happiness, good health, longevity. Every human being in the world is aspiring for that level of peace and good living. So why we can't negotiate how all of us can get a piece of this utopia is down to basically leadership, politics, and all those issues. So Nigeria should maintain its non-aligned stance, but the government should be prepared to mitigate the fallout. There will be fallout. Already petrol going up by 101 naira. Once the petrol goes up, guess what happens? Inflation, because once petrol price goes up, transportation cost of everything goes up. So prices will begin to escalate, especially if this thing stretches beyond a few days. Now, some people are going excited that, oil price is going up, which because Iran right now has had to shut down its oil producing capability. Saudi Arabia, one refinery was hit. They can't. Yes. So then all the other Middle Eastern countries, their oil production, whether upstream or downstream, they are all on red alert at the moment and have shut down operations. So it affects the global oil value chain completely, from prospecting for oil under the ground to getting refined products to the end user. They are all affected at this point in time. So what does that do? If supply is restricted, demand increases. When demand increases, prices go up. So for the short term, we'll see a spike in the price of crude oil. They're saying up to $100 a barrel. At the moment, I think it's trading at low 70.
It's 7.
Okay. So that is a windfall for Nigeria, because the more crude we export, the more money we're going to get. But the downside of that is, there'll be more money coming into FAC for the federal government. But us as individuals are going to have a greater impact, because the money in our pocket will buy less, because goods are going to be more expensive. So government needs to know how to mitigate that. Maybe some of the extra money is going to get from the additional profit. Maybe it needs to use it as palliatives or subsidy, right? To be able to cushion the effect of what's going to happen to the average ordinary Nigerian. The other thing also that's very important for Nigeria at this point in time is that to maximize that spike in prices, we need to make sure there's no vandalism, no pipeline theft, nothing. We need to squeeze every extra drop of oil that we can get out of the ground during this period to maximize the profit. Then that extra money that comes in, government needs to channel it to cushion the effect of the oil squeeze on ordinary Nigerians.
Okay, so let's look at the protest, by the Islamic movement of Nigeria. Do you think it's significant in any way?
The first question I asked myself is, when Boko Haram was killing people here, who protested in Iran against our people? That was the question I thought to myself, is, did we see any Iranians fighting for victimized Nigerians? So I looked at it and I thought, okay, so you are fighting for a religious cause. You are saying that what America did to the Ayatollah was immoral, it was unjust. But when they were killing your own people, I didn't see any Iranian or anybody in the Middle East protest on your behalf. So I don't know if it's misguided, It's probably ideologically based. It's an ideology they are fighting for. And I know that some religious sects like the Shiite Muslims,
Shite, yeah.
Sunni Muslims, they all band together as one big family. So perhaps that's what this is all about. There was a protest in Maryland, Lagos yesterday that shut down that whole area. There was a protest in Abuja the day before. And I think it's just showing solidarity religiously. But that still goes to show that the things that divide us are more than the things that unite us as a people. And I would have preferred to see us taking a position as Nigerians and say that, okay, what is the interest of us as a unified people, as opposed to a certain segment, propagating their own religious preferences. Because when you take those kind of positions, they just exacerbate the divide between us. Because if some of us are taking the position that, well, Iran was belligerent, Iran was backing even up to Boko Haram and ISWAP, Iran was supporting them. So some of us may be saying, what America did is just, at least they've eliminated a threat that ultimately may have been having knock-on effects on us as a people in terms of the terrorism in Nigeria. So there'll be some of us who'll be saying, well done, Donald Trump, nice one, you've helped us. And then here we are having some other among us protesting that America didn't do right. It just widens the divide between us as a people, which can never be good.
Like you said earlier, you said the government should be considering, subsidy or some relief measures when fuel prices go up. How should this be implemented?
Hey, Wahala. For whenever they've tried to implement palliative measures, most of it has gone for corruption. I don't know if you remember COVID, when we were finding bags and bags and bags of palliatives in warehouses with people's faces, politicians' birthday. They were prepared as gifts to hand out
souvenirs.
Yes. Then, whenever they've tried to do it as cash, and they say they have the social register, the question you always ask, have you ever met anybody who ever collected conditional cash transfer? Who are these people? How do you identify them? How did you put them? So, palliatives has always been an avenue for leakage, for corruption, for fraud. So, I suppose the only way to do it that it would be above board is a general subsidy. Like maybe government should go back to subsidize the cost of fuel. But remember, part of the reason why they removed the subsidy was because there was so much fraud. Now, even
we claim not to be able to afford it.
We couldn't afford it, but the reason we couldn't afford it was because there was so much fraud in the system. People would fill out paperwork and get money back when they never even imported one drop. Never imported one drop of fuel. They will fill out paper, connive with the people in NNPC, connive with people in Ministry of Finance. They will claim that, and customs will claim that, yes, vessel came in with 2 million barrels on so day. We inspected it, blah, blah, blah. Government will now reimburse them billions of naira for
nothing.
Fuel they never, ever even supplied. So this was part of why subsidy had to go, was there was too much fraud. So how do you do it? I think it will take the wisdom of a Solomon to figure out how to do it, in such a way that corruption will not overwhelm it.
So do you think, a lot of people were talking about OPEC as a body. Do you think there's a way for OPEC to, intervene in order to stabilize oil prices? I think that's going to affect the world as we're looking at it.
Well, the thing about it is that what is going on now, the countries that are affected, they are the key members of OPEC. Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, Kuwait, United Arab Emirates. Those are all they are the heavyweights of OPEC, and they are all the ones affected by this now. So they are all comatose. When all their oil, something has shut down. At this moment, OPEC is a toothless bulldog because its key members are affected by what they're directly involved and affected by what is going on. So, I mean, look at, for example, part of the news now is that Iran wants to block off something called the Strait of Hormuz, which is a small little 33-kilometer break between, I think, India on that side and Iran on this side. It's a small little shipping channel that maybe 20-30% of Iran's oil, in fact, all the oil from the Middle East passes through there to go to India, to go to Japan, to go to China, and Iran is threatening to block that off. Once it blocks that off, problem starts, because all those countries that are dependent on oil from the Middle East, they can't get it because it's not possible for the ships to go all the way. You are here. you are going here. They block it. You don't have to go all the way around. Imagine what that would do to transportation costs. So you look at it and you say, how do we get out of this situation? What can OPEC do? Can OPEC really do anything? Can they reduce production quotas? Can they manipulate the price of the barrel of oil? How will that affect what is happening now? I'm sure America can get along without OPEC's oil. Apart from the fact that America has its own oil, it has independent arrangements with countries to where OPEC doesn't really say who you can sell to and who you can't sell to. OPEC deals with things like supply and price. So how they can manipulate those two to intervene in this situation, I don't see it.
Okay, so I saw a particular comment talking about certain countries, mediating. Do you think there's any country right now, like who do you think will be the most credible mediator in this situation? Qatar, China, Turkey?
See, geopolitics at this point is getting very interesting because you have alignments that have been occurring over time. You see countries like Russia, China, Brazil, those BRICS countries, Brazil, Russia, India, China. They are the new up and coming powerhouses. And you see the sun setting on the old empires like America, UK, Russia, the West. You see. UK. So really, what is happening now between this Israel and Iran is being seen as a proxy war between the old guard and the new. So on the one hand, you have the Russia, even though they've not taken position, but behind in your heart of hearts, that the Russia, the India, the Brazil, the China, they are all behind Iran. And that the US, UK, France, Italy, Germany, they are all lining up behind Israel. So it's really a larger scope than what is happening. Iran and Israel are just pawns. They are pawns in an international realignment of global powers. So the war, the contention is just being played out through two smaller powers. But at the end of the day, it's really a larger realignment that's at play here of the global world order. It's being readjusted. The sun is setting on one empire, it's rising somewhere else.
Okay, so your answer brings me to the last question for the day. Who stands to gain the most in this current war?
I don't see. When human lives are at stake, it can't be. Even if you lose just one human life, you've lost now. So I can't say anybody stands to gain because you see pictures of devastation and ruin. Have you seen pictures of even places that missiles landed in Israel? Although they managed to defend against many missiles, but some got through. And the ones that got through created massive devastation, even in Israel. Then now look at what Israel has done in Iran. Now look at what Iran is firing into Bahrain, firing into Kuwait. Look at the fallout where Kuwait mistakenly went and downed 3 US fighter jets yesterday, friendly fire. Although the pilots ejected safely, but look at the damage and the destruction and the loss. So I look at it and I just can't say, somebody may prevail at the end of the day. And in all likelihood, it will be Israel and US. Unless Russia and China and India directly get involved, which now escalates the matter where we are now looking at World War III. But as long as those ones say we are staying out of it, and it's still the US and Israel that are the aggressors, at the end of the day, Iran will be subdued because it can't stand up. I mean, the United States has the most formidable military in the world. And it can't be easy to defeat the United States Army. And Israel also is very formidable. So by the time the two of them ally to fight against a common enemy, it's very difficult to defeat them. The only thing is, as Donald Trump predicted, it may take some weeks or some months to get the job done. But at the end of the day, the voting has to go with the fact that the US-Israel bloc will prevail eventually. But that does not mean they won. The fact that they prevailed, the human cost, the economic cost, the social cost is unimaginable on both sides. So to me, they both will lose.
So let's quickly look at our second story because our
Mm.
time is fast spent.
Yes.
The Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission, ICPC, has publicly listed various documents and electronic devices seized from the former Abuja residence or former Kaduna State Governor Nasir El-Rufai as part of an ongoing investigation. According to the filings before the High Court of the Federal Capital Territory, the items include laptops, mobile phones, flash drives, and other electronic devices, which has been sealed for forensic analysis in connection with allegations against the ex-governor. The ICPC has also claimed that it recovered equipment alleged to be capable of wiretapping and sensitive security documents. El-Rufai, on the other hand, has responded by challenging the lawfulness of the search warrant and has denied some of the allegations, with his family claiming the claims, is politically motivated and rejecting the idea that sophisticated surveillance tools were found in their home. Let's look at it. How significant are these legal issues currently going, especially to our nation as a whole? El-Rufai, an ex, governor, being held.
Well, I don't necessarily think that there's anything wrong with him being held, because once you are called to account, the law allows you to be detained while you are pending a bail hearing. You have the right to bail, and he will be given bail eventually. But the law enforcement agencies have managed to get exceptions from the court and say, we're still investigating. If we allow him out, he can impede the investigation by going to hide evidence or intimidate witnesses. So the thing I've never liked about Nigerian crime fighting is that they go and pick you up before they've completed their investigation. And part of the picking you up is that they think they can question you. El-Rufai has been questioned. He's refused to talk. The Constitution guarantees you the right against self-incrimination. So even if they believe you did something, you are not obligated to testify against yourself. So you don't have to say anything. Sorry, I take the Fifth Amendment. I have the right to not say anything so that I don't self-incriminate myself. So the larger issue here is they're questioning the legality of the search, his family. And I believe that if a law enforcement agency already has you in custody based on allegations, because for them to have even been able to arrest you, they've convinced a court somewhere that they have credible evidence against you. This is not to talk about the fact that the man himself more or less convicted himself on national television by saying that he and his people, whoever these people are, regularly listen to the conversations of the National Security Advisor, that they have the ability to listen in on his phone call. So he's already provided the evidence they need. Then, of course, there was a petition from the Kano State House of Assembly about some misappropriation of funds that occurred during his tenure, which was the original purpose of the investigation to begin with. So there are two separate issues here. So, but when the ICPC went to search his house, the law requires that you go with a search warrant. That search warrant must be issued by a court. You can't just walk into somebody's house, even if you're a policeman, without the person agreeing and just start ransacking the house. It doesn't work like that. Question is that his family is now questioning the legality of the search warrant. From the little bit I know, I don't think it would be very hard to get a search warrant from any court with the evidence already against him already being in custody, he already having committed himself on national television that everybody heard. I think any court in Nigeria will sign the search warrant and say, yeah, go and see if truthfully he has eavesdropping devices in his home. He used his mouth to say the evidence is there already. So if a search warrant is that easy to get, why would they forge one? Why would the ICPC forge one? Besides, if you know the reputation of the ICPC, they're very thorough. We don't hear much about them. They're kind of quiet. And I believe that's about to change because they've been more visible lately. But they're very thorough. They don't make noise. You don't hear much about them. But their investigative prowess is second to none. And they leave no stone unturned. And their investigations are very thorough. So I don't think any judge would have denied them. And I don't think it would have been very difficult or convoluted for them to get a legitimate search warrant. So why would they forge one? So I'm going with giving them benefit of the doubt, saying they had a proper search warrant. Now the issue is when they got to El-Rufai's house, police procedure, law enforcement procedure requires that while you are conducting the search, the accused should be with you, or at least his representatives. Why is that? It's very important so that the accused cannot later claim that you planted the evidence. So as they are going room to room, cupboard to cupboard, you follow them and see that they are taking something out, not that they are the ones that put it there to now take it out. So the question that I want to ask the El-Rufai family, when the search was going on, were you there and did you follow them? Did you keep your eyes on every cupboard they opened, every drawer, every item they took out? Are you aware? Did you sign? Because they will make an inventory of everything they saw and they took, and you are supposed to sign. Did you sign? And when you signed, did you sign that they took this eavesdropping equipment? So it's complicated, but the family is in distress. Their breadwinner is in custody. He's been there 2 weeks now. Of course, they are emotional about it. They want him home. And he himself wants the ability to defend himself in a court of law. Because remember, in Nigeria, you are innocent until proven guilty. Even in spite of what he said on national television, he's not convicted. You'll be surprised that even with what he said, he can still be acquitted of this accusation of eavesdropping devices. So let's see how it plays out. Let's wait and see.
Okay, so our last question, because our time is fast spent. So ICPC claims, some documents compromise national security. How should, claims like that be evaluated? By whom? Who should be the one to check that, such documents actually compromise national security?
Well, ICPC as a law enforcement agency has forensic department, forensic analysts, they have investigative specialists, they have the prowess. But to know whether something compromises national security, you have to know what national security is to begin with. Is that part of the ICPC's purview? We don't know. So my guess would be if they found sensitive national security documents, they probably call the ONSA, the Office of the National Security Advisor, and have them come and do an analysis of the documents that were found and now make a postulation about the gravity of what was found as it relates to national security. You and I can see those documents, look at them and not know the import of what we are looking at. But an expert would know. So I would expect that things like the Minister of Defense, things like the Chief of, not Army Staff, Chief of Defense Staff, the CDS, the Office of the National Security Advisor, and the Director of the DSS. Those are fully qualified to know what national security is. The president gets a national security briefing every morning. The governors get statewide security briefings every morning. So they, and maybe the president, maybe their chiefs of staff are privy to those reports. But the rest of us is on a need-to-know basis. Even the Army need to know. Navy, you need to know about territorial waters. But to have a whole picture of what constitutes national security, a very few individuals are the ones who are privy to that kind of confidential information. So they are the ones who can determine if what was found in the documents in El-Rufai's house are critical to national security. So they would be the ones to look at it, make a pronouncement, and we move forward from there.
Thank you very much for joining us today.
My pleasure always. Good morning, Nigeria.
We draw the curtain on the show for today. That was Mr. Dayo Akintobi, publisher Ikeja Jari today, Lekki today, and Ilupeju today. Do well to follow us on all our social media platforms as seen on your screen. For up-to-date stories, check out our website. It's www.vanguardngr.com. My name is Ololade Adewumi. Until tomorrow, do have a lovely day.